Bunny, bunny, bunny.
Now you're 6. What is your daddy's name?
Slim.
And what else? What's his real name?
Real name's Coleman.
Yeah, what's the first name?
First name is Slim.
I don't miss a month go and bring flowers. I had to bury what they found.
August 22nd, 2017. Workers at a Chambers County landfill made a discovery that would haunt them forever. A male torso dumped like trash among the garbage. But this wasn't just another body. This was a man who told his friends exactly what would happen to him. He warned them. He begged them to remember his words if he ever disappeared. And then he vanished. His killer confessed everything online, piece by piece, while his family desperately searched for answers. This is the story of Stephen Coleman and the woman who turned his nightmare into reality. What she did next will leave you speechless. Welcome to Homicide Exposed. If you're new here, we cover the darkest true crime cases that shake communities to their core. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. Now, before we begin, have you ever had a gut feeling about someone that turned out to be tragically right? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Now let's go back to August 2017, Baytown, Texas, where a man's worst fear was about to become his final reality. Stephen Coleman was born on October 13th, 1984, in New Orleans, Louisiana. To his friends and family, he was more than just a name. He was a dreamer, a father, and a man who believed in second chances. Stephen went by the stage name Slim da Don. He loved music and spent his free time working on his rap career, hoping one day his voice would be heard beyond the streets of his neighborhood. But music wasn't his only focus. Stephen worked hard at ExxonMobil, putting in long hours to provide for the people he loved most. And there was no one Stephen loved more than his daughter, Ania. And he was a devoted father who made sure she knew she was his world. His mother, Corla Coleman, and his brother, Chris, were also central to his life. Stephen was the kind of man who showed up for his family no matter what. His close friend, Dominique Clark, remembered Stephen as someone full of life and ambition. He had dreams. He had goals. He wanted to make something of himself and leave a legacy his daughter could be proud of. But Stephen had one weakness, a relationship that would cost him everything. Her name was Sierra Alexis Sutton. Stephen and Sierra lived together in an apartment on James Bowie Drive in Baytown, Texas. From the outside, they seemed like any other couple. But those closest to Stephen saw the cracks. They noticed the tension. They heard the arguments. And Stephen noticed it too. In fact, Stephen was so worried about what Sierra might do that he told his friends something chilling. He said it more than once, making sure they understood. "If I ever go missing," Stephen warned them, "make sure the police look into Sierra." It wasn't a joke. It wasn't paranoia. Stephen genuinely believed that if something happened to him, Sierra would be responsible. His friends heard him. They remembered his words. But no one thought it would actually happen. No one thought Stephen's fear would come true. But in August 2017, Stephen Coleman disappeared. And just like he predicted, Sierra Sutton was at the center of it all. Sierra Alexis Sutton was 30 years old when she met Stephen Coleman. On the surface, she seemed like an ordinary woman. But the people closest to Stephen saw something different. They saw a relationship that didn't feel right. Stephen and Sierra lived together in his apartment on James Bowie Drive in Baytown, Texas. To outsiders, they might have looked like a normal couple. But behind closed doors, things were far from normal. Friends noticed the way Sierra acted around Stephen. They saw the arguments. They heard the raised voices. And more than anything, they noticed how uncomfortable Stephen seemed whenever her name came up. Stephen didn't talk much about what went on at home, but he didn't have to. His warning said everything. "If I go missing, look into Sierra." He said it so many times that his friends couldn't ignore it. It wasn't a passing comment. It was a plea, a cry for help wrapped in a warning. But what could they do? Stephen was an adult. He made his own choices. And as much as his friends worried, they couldn't force him to leave. The tension between Stephen and Sierra continued to grow. Whatever was happening in that apartment, it was getting worse. Stephen felt it. His friends felt it. Even strangers who saw them together could sense something was off. But no one knew just how dangerous Sierra really was. Stephen's warnings weren't paranoia. They weren't exaggerations. They were the desperate words of a man who knew he was in danger, but didn't know how to escape. And tragically, no one could save him in time. By mid-August 2017, the tension in Stephen and Sierra's relationship had reached a breaking point. What happened next would prove that Stephen's fears were justified all along. August 16th, 2017. It was a Wednesday evening in Baytown, Texas. For Stephen Coleman, it would be the last night of his life. According to what Sierra later admitted to others, only she and Stephen had an argument that night. We don't know exactly what they fought about. We don't know who said what, but we do know how it ended. Stephen went to bed that night, probably hoping things would be better in the morning. Maybe he thought the argument would blow over. Maybe he thought they'd talk it out the next day. He closed his eyes and went to sleep. He never woke up. While Stephen lay sleeping in his own bed, in his own home, Sierra Alexis Sutton walked into the room with a gun. Stephen was completely defenseless. He wasn't fighting. He wasn't threatening her. He was asleep, and she shot him in the head. It was the ultimate betrayal. Stephen had trusted her enough to fall asleep beside her. He was at his most vulnerable, and she took his life in that moment. But Sierra's nightmare was just beginning, and so was Stephen's family's. After killing Stephen, Sierra faced a problem. His body was too heavy for her to move. She couldn't carry him out of the apartment. She couldn't hide him the way he was. So she came up with a horrifying solution. Sierra grabbed a machete. What happened next is almost too disturbing to put into words. Sierra dismembered Stephen's body, cutting it into smaller pieces so she could move them. She worked methodically, turning a human being, a father, a son, a friend, into something she could dispose of. And that's exactly what she did. Sierra took the pieces of Stephen's body and threw them into dumpsters around the apartment complex. She scattered him like garbage, making sure no single piece could be easily found. Stephen Coleman, the man who had dreams of becoming a successful rapper, the man who loved his daughter more than anything, was now in pieces, hidden in trash bins across Baytown. And Sierra? She acted like nothing had happened, but Stephen's body wouldn't stay hidden forever. And Sierra's lies were about to catch up with her in ways she never expected. After killing Stephen, Sierra didn't panic. She didn't break down. She didn't confess. Instead, she did something that shocked everyone who knew what really happened. She reported Stephen missing. That's right. Sierra herself called the police and filed a missing persons report. She played the role of the worried girlfriend perfectly. She told authorities she hadn't seen Stephen and didn't know where he was. She even helped his family search for him. Stephen's mother, Corla, his brother Chris, Aaron and his friends were all desperately looking for answers. And the whole time, Sierra stood beside them, pretending to care, pretending to be just as confused as they were. But behind the scenes, Sierra was busy covering her tracks. On August 20th, just 4 days after Stephen was killed, witnesses saw something strange. Sierra and several men were moving furniture out of Stephen's apartment. Couches, tables, beds, everything was being cleared out. By the time police would eventually search the apartment on August 24th, most of the furniture was already gone. But Sierra wasn't done yet. Investigators later discovered that Stephen's credit cards had been used at a Harris County Walmart after he disappeared. Someone was spending his money while his family was searching for him. His security cameras at the store captured a woman buying duct tape and a mattress pad with Stephen's card. The woman in the footage matched Sierra's description perfectly. She wasn't just hiding evidence. She was using Stephen's own money to do it. Sierra's behavior during this time was cold and methodical. She knew exactly what she was doing. Every move she made was designed to erase any trace of what happened in that apartment. But Stephen's family and friends were starting to notice something was off. Where was Stephen? Why wasn't he answering his phone? Why was Sierra acting so calm? The more time passed, the more suspicious they became. And soon the truth would come out in the most horrifying way possible. Because while Sierra was busy playing the victim, Stephen's body was about to be discovered. At this point, Stephen's family was desperately searching for answers, while the woman responsible was literally erasing evidence right in front of them. Think about that for a moment. What would you do if someone you loved went missing and their partner was acting suspicious? Would you confront them? Would you call the police? Let us know in the comments below. If you're finding this case as disturbing as we are, please hit that like button and share this video to help us spread awareness. But the truth was about to surface in the most disturbing way possible. August 22nd, 2017. 6 days after Stephen Coleman was last seen alive, workers at a Chambers County landfill were going about their usual day when they made a discovery that would change everything. Among the piles of trash and garbage, they found something that didn't belong there, a male torso. Not a full body, just a torso. No arms, no legs, no head. The landfill received trash from dumpsters all across Baytown and Pasadena. Thousands of bags were dumped there every single day. But this wasn't trash. This was a human being. Investigators rushed to the scene. They examined the remains carefully, looking for anything that could help them identify who this person was. The physical characteristics matched Stephen Coleman. The height, the build. Everything pointed to the missing man from Baytown, whose family had been searching for him for nearly a week. Stephen Coleman, a father, a son, a friend, had been reduced to pieces and thrown away like garbage. The man who had dreams of making it as a rapper, the man who worked hard to provide for his daughter, was now scattered across a landfill. It was a level of cruelty that's hard to comprehend. This was no longer a missing person case. This was a murder investigation. Detectives immediately began working to confirm the identity of the remains. They needed to know for certain if this was Stephen. And if it was, they needed to find out who did this to him. The clock was ticking. Evidence was disappearing. And somewhere out there, a killer was walking free. But investigators had no idea that the person responsible was the same woman who had reported Stephen missing in the first place. The same woman who had been helping his family search for him. The same woman Stephen had warned his friends about. On August 24th, 2017, police finally got permission to search Stephen Coleman's apartment on James Bowie Drive. What they found confirmed their worst fears. Blood. Everywhere. When there was blood in the bedroom, blood in the bathroom, blood in the kitchen. Despite Sierra's efforts to remove furniture and clean up, blood doesn't lie. It soaks into floors, seeps into cracks, and leaves traces that are nearly impossible to erase. The apartment told the story of what happened that night. This was a crime scene, and Stephen Coleman had been murdered right here, in his own home. But investigators found something else too. They searched Sierra's Jeep and discovered blood inside the vehicle. She had used her own car to transport evidence, possibly even parts of Stephen's body. The case against Sierra was building, but there was one problem. She was nowhere to be found. Detectives tried multiple times to bring Sierra in for an interview. They called her. They reached out. They wanted to hear her side of the story. But Sierra never showed up. She avoided every single interview, and that made investigators even more suspicious. Then came the break they needed. A third party came forward with information that would crack the case wide open. Sierra had been talking, not to the police, but to other people. She had been openly confessing to friends and acquaintances about what she had done. She admitted that she shot Stephen in the head while he was sleeping. She admitted that she used a machete to cut his body into pieces because he was too heavy to move. She admitted that she threw those pieces into dumpsters around the apartment complex. Sierra wasn't keeping this a secret. She was telling people. Some reports suggest she even shared details online, talking about the murder as if it were just another story. While Stephen's family was grieving, while his mother was crying, while his daughter was asking where her daddy was, Sierra was casually telling people how she killed him. It was cold, it was heartless, and it gave investigators everything they needed. Detectives tracked Sierra's movements and discovered she had fled Texas. She was hiding out in Louisiana, likely hoping the investigation would go away. But it wouldn't, and neither would the police. It was time to bring Sierra Alexis Sutton to justice. Sierra Alexis Sutton was arrested in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, on Thursday, August 31st, 2017. When police found her, they expected some kind of reaction. Guilt, fear, panic, something. But Sierra showed nothing. Lieutenant Steve Doris of the Baytown Police Department described her in 2 words: uncaring. No remorse. He said that was the best way to describe Sierra when she was taken into custody. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She didn't ask about Stephen's family or his daughter. She acted like none of it mattered. When confronted about Stephen's death, Sierra showed no emotion. The man she had lived with, the man she had shared a home with, was dead, and she didn't care. This was the same woman who had called the police to report Stephen missing. The same woman who had stood beside his family, pretending to search for him. The same woman who had looked his mother in the eye while knowing exactly where her son was. Stephen's prophecy had come true. He had warned his friends over and over again. If I go missing, look into Sierra. And he was right. The police mentioned that there may have been other people in the apartment around the time of the murder, possibly even helping Sierra move furniture afterward. But investigators made it clear, Sierra was the one who pulled the trigger. She was the one who dismembered Stephen's body. She was the one responsible. And now she would finally face the consequences. Sierra Alexis Sutton was officially charged with murder. In February 2019, after a trial that laid out all the horrifying details of what she had done, Sierra was convicted. She was sentenced to 45 years in prison. For Stephen's family, it was justice, but it wasn't closure. No sentence could bring Stephen back. No amount of prison time could undo what Sierra had done. Stephen's mother, Corla, had lost her son. His brother, Chris, had lost his best friend. And his daughter, Anaya, had lost her father. Anaya would grow up without Stephen. She would never hear his voice again. She would never feel his hugs. She would have to live the rest of her life knowing her father was taken from her in the most brutal way possible. Stephen's close friend, Dominique Clark, spoke about Sierra after her arrest. His words were raw and honest. "Devil," he said, "that's the mind of a bad spirit. That's not a normal mind. That's not a mind of God. That's not one of God's children." The community was shaken. People couldn't believe that someone could do something so cruel and show absolutely no remorse. But the pain didn't end with the trial. Stephen's family has had to relive this nightmare over and over again. True crime shows and documentaries have covered the case, often getting details wrong and exploiting their pain for views. The Coleman family has publicly asked for these productions to stop, saying it only adds to their trauma. Stephen deserved better. His family deserves peace. Stephen Coleman's story is a tragic reminder of how dangerous intimate partner violence can be. The warning signs were there. Stephen told his friends multiple times that if anything happened to him, Sierra would be responsible. He was scared. He knew something was wrong, but no one could save him. It's easy to look back now and ask, why didn't anyone intervene? But the truth is, it's complicated. Stephen was an adult making his own choices. His friends couldn't force him to leave. They couldn't predict that Sierra would actually go through with it. But this case teaches us an important lesson. When someone tells you they're in danger, believe them. Take it seriously. And don't wait until it's too late. Stephen had dreams. He wanted to build a career in music. He wanted to be there for his daughter. He wanted to live. But his life was cut short by someone who showed no remorse, no guilt, no humanity. Sierra's complete lack of emotion after killing Stephen shows just how dark some people can be. Not everyone has a conscience. Not everyone feels empathy. And that's a terrifying reality we all have to accept. Stephen Coleman deserved better, and his story should never be forgotten. Stephen Coleman's story is a reminder that evil can wear a familiar face. Sometimes the most dangerous person is the one closest to you. What do you think should happen to people who show no remorse for their crimes? Should Sierra have received a harsher sentence? Let us know in the comments below. If this case affected you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Homicide Exposed. We cover cases like Stephen's to ensure victims are never forgotten. Share this video to spread awareness about domestic violence warning signs. You never know who might need to see it. Rest in peace, Stephen Coleman. Your story will not be forgotten. Until next time, stay safe out there.